Hello mathematicians! Today we're going to be learning about whole numbers, more specifically how to find the greatest common factor between two or more numbers. Before we begin, just know that we can abbreviate the greatest common factor to GCF, alright? And first let's talk about what the greatest common factor even is. So as you could read it in the title, the greatest common factor is the greatest factor two or more numbers have in common, alright? So for example, here we have the factors of 18 and the factors of 30. If you notice, they have several factors in common, such as 1, 2, 3, and 6, alright? So although they have a lot of factors in common, the GCF is 6 because it's the greatest factor that they have in common, alright? So let's do another example. So what is the greatest common factor between 12 and 26? Well, before we begin, we have to find the factors of 12 and the factors of 26. So to find the factors of 12, we know that 1 times 12 is equal to 12, 2 times 6 is equal to 12, 3 times 4 is equal to 12, 4 times 3 is equal to 12, 6 times 2 is equal to 12, and 12 times 1 is equal to 12. Alright, so let's take these factors and list them out. So the factors of 12, we know that we have 1, and we could cross that out. We know that we have 2, and we could cross that out. We know that we have 3, we have 4, we have 6, and we have 12. Alright, so those are our factors for 12. Now let's find our factors of 26. So for 26, we have 1 times 26 is equal to 26. We have 2 times 13 is equal to 26. 13 times 2 is equal to 26. And finally, 26 times 1 is equal to 26. So our factors of 26 are 1, 2, 13, and 26. Alright, so let's circle the ones that they have in common. So both numbers have factor of 1 in common, and they both have a factor of 2 in common. So the GCF of this 12 and 26 is 2 because it's the greatest factor that they both have in common. Alright? So let's do another example. So what is the greatest common factor of 18, 27, and 45? So before we do anything, we're going to find the factors of these three numbers. So the factors of 18, we have 1 times 18 is equal to 18. We have 2 times 9 is equal to 18. 3 times 6 is equal to 18. 6 times 3 is equal to 18. 9 times 2 is equal to 18. And 18 times 1 is equal to 18. So let's list these out. So our factors of 18 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and finally our last factor is 18. Alright? So let's see our factors of 27. So our factors of 27, we have 1 times 27 is equal to 27. 3 times 9 is equal to 27. 9 times 3 is equal to 27. And 27 times 1 is equal to 27. So our factors of 27 are 1, 3, 9, and finally we have 27. Alright? And now let's find our factors of 45. So for 45, we have 1 times 45 is equal to 45. 3 times 15 is equal to 45. 5 times 9 is equal to 45. 9 times 5 is equal to 45. 15 times 3 is equal to 45. And finally, 45 times 1 is equal to 45. So our factors of 45 include 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, 15, and finally 45. All right? So let's see what factors they have in common. So they have 1 in common, they have 3 in common, and they have 9 in common. So the GCF of 18, 27, and 45 is 9 because although they have other common factors, this is the greatest common factor that they have. All right? So let's do another example. So what is the greatest common factor of 15 and 35? And this time we're just going to make a table. So we're going to list out our factors of 15, which are 1, 3, 5, and 15, and our factors of 35, which are 1, 5, 7, and 35. All right, so you could just list out your factors and then circle the ones that they have in common. So they have a common factor of 1, and they have a common factor of 5. So the greatest common factor of 15 and 35 is 5. All right? And then finally, what is the greatest common factor of 6, 26, and 34? And again, we're going to make a table. So our factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Our factors of 26 are 1, 2, 13, and 26. And finally, our factors of 34 are 1, 2, 17, and 34. So let's see what they have in common. So they all have a factor of 1, they all have a factor of 2, and that's it. So the greatest common factor of 6, 26, and 34 is 2. And that's it for finding the greatest common factor.